Friends, the current global emergency due to coronavirus COVID-19 is tearing businesses apart. We, on World Environment Day, want to pause and hear from our members of Indian Environment Network, Paryavaran.com, on how environmental organizations championing sustainability are reinventing themselves. And right now, I'm very fortunate to have with me together four distinguished members, Dr. Bhakti Devi, Dr. Vijay Singhal, and Dr. Vijay Singhal came right on time. Perfect. Thank you, Dr.
Hello.
And Vishnu Vardhan, Lata.
Hello.
And Dr. Bhakti Devi. I think there's an echo right there. So, okay. Are you able to join now? I think he's still having a little problem, but that's fine. No problem at all.
Hello.
Are you able to join? Okay, let me give him a few minutes to join again. But sure. In the meanwhile, again, thank you all the panelists for coming in and on the show. We are very privileged to have you there. This is a real dire situation. COVID-19 is tearing our businesses apart, making many like startups. A lot of you are doing startups. A lot of issues there, creating a lot of problems. But before I go into all the gloom and doom and how we are getting out of that, let's talk about first who we are as a person, as an individual, and as an organization, and the strength that is coming from them. So I'll start with Dr. Bhakti Devi. Again, Rome was not built in a day. So tell me, right from your childhood days, what inspired you into getting into environment, and tell me more about your organization.
Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity, Chandra, and it's great to connect with others who are doing some really significant work. So my story, I think what I'm doing today, I hadn't even thought that that I would do something like this growing up as a child. So I think my story really begins where, in Australia, I'd been working on water conservation and sustainable water management because I'm trained as a civil engineer and environmental engineer. And allowed me to really get into some very interesting work because Sydney Olympics had kick-started a lot of sustainability. Sydney 2000 Olympics had kick-started a conversation on sustainability in Australia, and that really led me to, from becoming a process design engineer, designing treatment plants and rainwater harvesting systems, to a big think tank group, which was really helping organizations, municipalities, water utilities into what does sustainability mean for their business as a municipality, as a water utility. This was back in 1999, just before the Olympics. And that really prepared me for what I'm doing today, because it became my learning ground, because until then I was just an engineer, but then that work with that big think tank group really grounded me in understanding how change happens, how to effect the change at a strategic and at a policy level, and how to take a step back and think about the system and see where you can tweak the system to make the change. So having done that work with the think tank group, I also had the opportunity to help City of Sydney municipality with a very groundbreaking groundbreaking, innovative water strategy. The reason it was groundbreaking is that municipality usually is not responsible in that particular case, was not responsible for supplying water or managing, but they took it upon themselves that, we are serviced by a large system. However, what we looked at, opportunities that we have in our control at a local level, at a small scale. How do we create these small circular systems across the city so that a hybrid, a more resilient city, which actually not only depends on one single system, but it has multiple sources of water. And I was fortunate to get that job of guiding the municipality, city of Sydney municipality on that. And then that particular experience was so transforming for me at a personal level, because even though I had done some kind of work like that previously, but this was my first time seeing the possibilities, the endless possibilities you can do when you actually put your mind on it to capture local resources. So I think I'll stop there, because that's what prepared me for what I'm doing in India. I relocated in India around 2017, 2018. And I have been building a program which is focused on our mission, the Urban Water Doctor initiative. Our mission is to enable water users to create their own oasis in a water-stressed city, simply because it's technically possible, it's financially possible. All we are doing is hand-holding them through tools and things that we are facilitating that change, because it's a huge change from becoming water users to water prosumers. We should never underestimate the complexity of that. So we recognize it, and we are creating the whole process of helping them make that transformation. So basically, that's what we do. Thank you.
That's really great. Dr. Bhakti Devi, we heard about you. We'll learn more about you. But before that, let me go to Lata. Lata, let's talk about you.
Okay, so mine is a little bit similar to Dr. Bhakti Devi. I think, came by accident into environment and sustainability. In terms of nature, nature was always something which you kind of love. I mean, I'm an outdoor person right from childhood, and my love was, however, for physics. So I think that's where I get the scientific reasoning behind most of my thoughts and business. But I was more of I was already into marketing and communication, and I worked for more than 10 years with in this field of communication, especially with J. Walter Thompson, which was my last corporate job. And that point of time, I was living in Bangalore, working with JWT, and for whatever reason, being a communication marketing person, you always have lots of ideas.
Right.
So, prima facie, my entire career life has been interfacing with corporates, with some of the top companies, including Microsoft, Infosys, Logro. And so my bread and butter was knowing in and out about corporate strategy and advising them about it.
Okay.
So I saw an opportunity where, everyone was talking about green. I'm talking about like way back in 2008. Everyone was talking about green and using green technology, clean tech in companies. And I had this kind of idea that, how much ever you have technology to reduce say energy or reduce any other part of green, you still would need at the end of the day the employee in that office to go and switch off either the computer, shut down the computer, or switch off the light. So that's something where we got the idea. I got the idea that how can we evangelize the employees to adopt greener strategies, thereby it helps the companies also reduce their consumption. So that's where I started Green Evangelist in 2009 with another of my colleague, Sejal Sheth. And I think through that journey, I've been like, I have learned, and I'm still learning a lot more on sustainability and environment. So that's broadly how. And then in 2015, I exited the business of green evangelist and started Develop Matrix, where I'm trying to be more dynamic because it was as I was mentioning earlier to you, we ourselves are now trying to reinvent. Even before COVID, we were trying to reinvent, moving away from the consulting sphere of dealing only with corporates, and trying to be more in phase with the community and with users. So trying more of a circular business economy, where we go back direct to consumers, community, promote nature, because whatever I've learned all these years is that how much ever companies try and reduce their consumption, at the end of the day, also it's us, as community and citizens, who are also now using a lot of materials. So that's where Develop Matrix has been trying to invent ourselves.
That's great. Thank you so much for that great introduction. Dr. Vijay Singhal, tell me more about you. Basically, how did you come about heading the Rajasthan Pollution Control Board? Where did that spark come from?
Thank you very much, Kishore. It's nice to talk to all of you. Such a diverse group. It's such a happy, thing to do. Actually, I am basically a civil engineer from British Pilani, and I had no idea what is the environment and sustainability. I wanted to construct big buildings and dams, but somehow I got, my livelihood in Rajasthan Pollution Control Board. And I never wanted to stay here. For 3-4 years, I thought I will leave this, not a job I can do. I don't know what I'm doing here. There's a wrong place for me. But somehow after 86 or 87, we had a feeling, really, this is a field which is worth it. And I got more attached to this. I'm basically a regulator. So I'm a job regulator is very tough. You are in a balance. You want to see the industry work. You have more jobs. You have more production. But then your job is also to control, to regulate. This don't pollute. It's a very sensitive job to handle, because if you tighten the regulation more, people will say you don't want industries to work. You are anti-development.
Right.
And if really you keep them loose, the people like Kishore will be after me. That you are not doing a job. So once I got attached to this area, I thought this is my field. I should work here. Then I did my MTech in environmental engineering. Then I did my PhD. I did groundwater modeling. So then there's no looking away. Then this became my passion, bread and butter, and of course, this is the best thing which could happen to me.
That's great. And I'll talk more about how you are helping organizations survive this COVID-19. But before that, let me go to Vishnu. Vishnu, tell me more about yourself and where you are living in the mountains. Tell me about your spark.
I think though I live in the mountains now, the spark came in Bangalore, in Koramangala, where I was working. I was there for 5 years, and I was staying in a PG and accommodation. So there was a lot of cute little kids who used to play around with me. And so while going in an auto one day, this kid was talking to me about India being unclean and so on. The exact moment while we were looking out of the auto, there was a man spitting on the road. And trust me, this guy, little kid, this 5-year-old, he's crying. And sort of shocked me. And I asked him why he was crying, and he said, India will always remain like this, isn't it? And that sort of shocked me, and I wasn't able to come out of it.
Okay.
Though
Wow.
after I worked a couple of more years in the startup industry. I mean, in the company that I was working for, but this sort of had an impact on me. And so one day I decided to quit, and I said, let me do something with waste that it will not go to landfills. Let me actually make all of these waste into something useful. And I so started with pencils made from wasted paper. Um, and then textile waste, I converted that into notebooks and seed paper and so on. That's my journey. But it started with that little kid. I think that 5-year-old is my role model right now.
Oh, wow.
And he is my sort of role model.
Yeah, that's an amazing story that you said. The spark can come from anywhere.
Absolutely.
Anything that really gets to your heart, that happens to you. Before I move further, a little about me. I'm Chandra Kishore, founder of Indian Environment Network. Did my MBA from Indian Institute of Forest Management. I was the second batch in 1991. Then worked 9 years with the Sardar Sarovar project in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, as manager environment there, directly working on environmental and rehabilitation work. And in 2000, I came to US, and for the last 20 years, I'm right here. But the spark of Indian Environment Network that I had created when there was no Facebook, no Twitter, nothing, in like 1999, and we created Paryavaran.com in 2001. So it has been now almost 20 years that I have been helping a lot of environment professionals over the years, seeing them grow with me. A lot of them are in a very good positions, top CEOs and everywhere now in India. And we still have members who are in every nook or corner of not in even India and all over the world. We have been lying low for some times because of all our work issues and everything. But now we are again at a career point where we said that we have to give back. And that's how we again are trying to push back Paryavaran.com as the group where people like you use that platform, use our network. We have members from like 2,000 organizations right there. For network, for you to sell your products and services, for you to showcase your work. It's right there. So I said, let's again rejuvenate it with people like you. And one of the big things is what we are planning to do is like monthly town halls with environmental leaders like you, so that we can really mentor the next generation. That's what in my mind, and I have no doubt with people like you, we can make this a success. But going back to our topic for today, COVID-19 has really come as a setback to many organizations everywhere around the world. Especially, that's why I wanted to hear from some of you who are doing startups, how hard it has been for you, especially riding this amazing wave that has befallen on all of us. So let me start with Lata. How has your organization been affected by COVID-19, and how are you trying to reinvent yourself?
It's been, I think it's not just us, all across most organizations in, especially startups, which as it is itself, it's a day-to-day survival in most cases, even normal circumstances. In terms of with the virus, the pandemic, it's been even, I would say it's unprecedented. And I have been in a industry where the 2008-2009 depression did affect. and luckily I was with J. Walter Thompson, which is the top global agency at that point of time. But even for us as a global company at that time, it was difficult. We had clients coming and asking us for a cut, a reduction in the cost. But this crisis is literally, I don't think it's unprecedented in the fact that whether you're a small business or a big business, it's difficult. And for us, especially us in the sustainability environment sector, at least in my experience, it's been virtually, uh, I'm not sure how many of us will survive, to be
Yeah,
very true.
exactly.
That's that. Because a lot of our projects, in fact, which were just about to materialize before COVID has been put on hold, and also most likely may not even take place. We were we had we were also reinventing ourselves anyway before COVID, and we had started initiating a lot of ecotourism and nature-led workshops. But now, of course, stepping out on field is out of question, at least in Mumbai. So a lot of those kind of services and this thing may not even take place till say even September or December. So yeah, it's been tough. It's really been tough. Hence, what we are now trying is obviously I think the first most basic thing that we are doing is we are trying to shift most of our services online. So, for example, today we are starting uh, a workshop for children on nature, trying to make them nature conservationists uh, online, which is completely online. We are going to embark on a project which will be on studying and mapping sexual violence in urban India. It's a research. So we are trying to see how we'll be able to do it online, because one of the biggest, toughest thing is research where you have to be a lot on the field.
Right.
So that's it's a completely social audit project. So we are embarking on doing it completely online, and so it will be interesting to see how we'll be able to do it, because we have to look at the data sanctity, how biased or unbiased are online
Right.
audiences. So a lot of those.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what we are also now looking at is, I think somewhere you had mentioned, even in your earlier emails, that this is also an opportunity,
Exactly.
pandemic, because uh, what we've been trying, I think most of us here in the panel also have been trying for years, is to convince businesses to adopt sustainability and carbon mitigation strategies, right? To be more environment friendly. And I think most environmentalists have been predicting that this kind of crisis is going to happen,
Yeah.
where where nature is going to literally come back and
Right.
improve. So
And
this is an opportunity in that way.
right, and
Is
I'll
where
come back to opportunity with the entire panel. But before that, let me talk to sorry, Dr. Bhakti Devi, on how you are surviving COVID.
Yes, as you said, I'll give you a little bit of context of my where my venture is. It is a early stage bootstrapped phase. So what had happened was last 18 months, all of 2018, mid 2018 onwards, I had been intensely doing the research on ground to test and validate the tools that I was developing, and also researching and talking to the water users, because that's my main target. So I had finished all my research and refined the tools, and I was ready to, like in January 2020 is when I started to test the, validity in terms of revenue model, to see how people are willing to pay for this service. And I started getting traction, so which was very encouraging. So I started getting customers who were willing to pay for that service, which I'd been, for until then only testing and doing it as a pilot. So it was very encouraging, and 3 months, and that's it. Everything just came to a halt.
Right.
Stopped, money stopped, and it was just like, I just froze, basically froze in my thinking. What can we do? Because my job involves visiting people's sites, doing inspections, walkthroughs. So it's a very like a high touch thing. So
Right.
that all came to a halt. And but then as entrepreneurs, one thing we learn over time is our resilience muscle becomes very good, and we keep finding ways. What can we do? What can we do? That's always the focus, yeah, right? So now that we recognize that it's not moving. So in fact, my journey had begun because I'm helping develop this diagnostic process which I've been working on. So prior to starting to develop the process, I had actually started the training. So because that's the thing to do as a start, you start engagement. So the training, it didn't get much traction, because when you do training, people want to know where can I get the job, and which is a good question, right? And then my answer would be like, and I made me think that actually this service that I'm developing is so new that even when I train people on it, they're not going to find a job, because there is no job that actually someone has created which goes and says like, assess the water conservation status, assess the water security status of the buildings, so that, because most of the times in cities, all water users across the world, not just in India, we are all, when it comes to water, there's no accountability. There's no, it's almost like water illiteracy, and we don't count, we don't measure. So it's usually guesswork, or it's usually preaching when it comes to water conservation. So it's a new service. So of course there won't be any jobs. So I thought, okay, let me develop this service and therefore engage people after training. And I set aside the training. I didn't touch it because I was focused on developing it as a service. So I could then train people to employ in my own initiative. And here I was thinking, what about the training? I should launch the training now that I've got traction to show it can be done as a business, not as a job anymore. So I pivoted and I launched a campaign to say, we're doing a training to make you a waterpreneur.
Right.
Because we'll train what exactly the service we have been providing in Bangalore, which is proven to be a business service because people are willing to pay for it. So we'll train you on it, and we'll give you access to all the tools and templates. So post training, you can do it with our support as a franchisee. This service. So that was like, it just happened organically. First, I announced, as I started thinking of the training, I needed to know, what do I pitch it? Then I said, hey, this is great, because ultimately I wanted to do it as a scalable model. And the scaling happens when others are doing it, but also in a way that we are all doing it together. I'm supporting them in helping them. And entrepreneurial model is the best model, because I actually got response from people who are really willing to and want to do it. Because when you look for a job, then the drive is not more about how you are going to take it forward. It's more about, if someone else is taking forward, I can help them, right? But here, I'm getting people who are already entrepreneurs, who are already working professionals and have a drive that they want to do something on the side or as a part-time. And this is fantastic, because you're getting motivated people. And so thankfully, I have now my first batch of the training waterpreneurs. Batch started yesterday was the first class, and it's a 1 month long training. And now and the best part was my LinkedIn connection, because I've been very consistent in building my community on the social media, updating them, and they really responded in a very encouraging way when I announced it. They really wanted to know about it. So that also has been the best part. Like, I'm actually getting to talk to people who we have been knowing each other for a long time, but we never thought that actually why don't have a Zoom talk, right? Exactly. We always thought, Bangalore, so when you come to Bangalore, let's meet, or when I come to Delhi, let's meet. Now that's no more a limitation. So what basically this Corona has done is, first of all, it opened my mind to say, I don't have to limit myself to Bangalore people, to make it reach out to outsiders as well, outside Bangalore. And secondly, it has also allowed people to open their minds to say, what can we do? What can we do in the spare time? What can we learn? Something meaningful, right? And when I offered it, people like almost, they want to take it. So that has been a really encouraging development. And I would not have thought my most traction would have happened in the month of May, which is like, it's like great, very great, and looking forward to.
That's great. And for all our panelists here, Dr. Bhakti Devi, also now a partner of Indian Environment Network, and planning to leverage our network to bring more waterpreneurs in India. So that's a great thing to do.
And we met through LinkedIn.
Exactly.
So this is
we met through LinkedIn, and we said that we already have so many people right there who we can train as entrepreneurs. So we are creating a network right there on Paryawaran.com for her to connect with people, put all her stuff right there so people will understand what you can do for them. So that's a great model again. Dr. Vijay, you have been hearing from all the entrepreneurs in the environment sector, and you have been talking to so many organizations in this time of stress, right? Tell me how the environment organization that you are talking with have been affected by COVID and how they are surviving.
You are right. COVID is an epidemic which has affected everybody, whether it's government, it's private, entrepreneurs, even individuals. Like anybody else, we are also impacted. How do we work? How do we, inspect the industries? How do we collect the samples? How do we, process the applications? Everything has really changed a lot and will change. It's just a baby steps we are taking. As far as our clients are concerned, they have been impacted very hugely. You must have heard there was an accident in India where the gases were released, some boilers, even yesterday there was an accident where boiler got blasted. So since there was a long, lockdown, industries started opening, and maybe due to some negligence, they could not, follow all the protocols of reopening. There were some accidents also. That is same with the pollution control measures. Somebody operating a effluent treatment plant and it is lying closed once, you may not be able to operate the same immediately. And then there are many compliances industries are required to make. And since there was lockdown, we helped them. We gave them more time from the statutory, provisions to make those compliances. Even some of the industries could not get their permissions. They extended their time because it was such a extraordinary emergency situation that nobody can do anything.
Right.
So, but then this is a great learning lesson to everyone. As an organization, we will move towards more, automation, online disposal, online, remote remote monitoring of the pollution sources.
Right.
So, anyway, that's a blessing in disguise because you got an opportunity to work in this area where you didn't work earlier. So, of course, it's a great economic loss to everyone, but then it's a opportunity also to learn new things.
No, I completely agree with you. And before I go to all the opportunities here, Vishnu, the stage is yours. How did it affect you?
Yeah, initially it was kind of like a shock, like everybody goes through it. So for the first week, I wasn't sure of what to do and so on because I had a team of 25 people and we are doing sustainable sustainability for brands. So the complete business collapsed, right? So no brands were able to with this and lockdown of the entire logistics and so on. So we then figured, okay, this is the best time for us to sort of work on sustainability, work on the backside, the back end, the opportunities, like you said. I think we'll cover that in the next question. But anyways, what COVID has made me realize is that it's like the, if I can put it in layman's terms, it's like the PR partner for sustainability.
Right.
It's brought sustainability into the limelight, and so I think it's great. everybody that I speak to right now says, the air is cleaner, it's greener, it's better for the environment. They're seeing wildlife come back again. They're seeing wildlife roaming on the roads, which they've never seen before. And so it's a self-imposed exile, which people never thought was possible before, right? People always thought, like Dr. Bhakti said, it's impossible for us to, when I come to Mumbai, I'll meet you. When I come to Chennai, I'll meet you. And then it all happened over Zoom. It all happened over, social media. So I think COVID, in that sense, has brought sustainability back into the limelight. And it's been the best thing that can happen to the world.
and like the same thing, I have been doing Day Out with a Star show for the last 1 year, and bringing people right here virtually and giving them stage, talking about themselves. And every time I've met environment professionals, they were all talking about how all these environmental conferences happen in 5-star hotels, and people
with plastic bottles.
People are meeting, spending so much of the money and cost that should have gone to the cause of environment. So I think it's like a blessing in disguise right there. And
I just wanted to point out one thing here, that just a simple act of staying at home can actually change the world, and everybody's mentality out here. So
no, I completely agree with you. And if I were you, and you were like a totally not in the environment profession, basically, what do you think would have been your message to businesses? Like, the disaster management and environmental disaster management are two things that are totally correlated together. And COVID-19 is basically an environmental disaster, right? So all businesses need to be prepared for environmental disasters. They should have an environment impact plan for their businesses. So now, as an environment professional, what would you teach other businesses on environment, how it is connected to business? So, yeah, go ahead. Vishnu, I'll start with you this time. So,
okay, great. So the way it sort of worked out is climate change is out there, and we know that by 2030, if we don't do enough, then the temperature of the planet is going to increase by 2 degrees Celsius, and that can never come back. But people do not connect with it. The reason being, it's still far out there. It doesn't affect them, is what they're saying. They see floods, they see all of these cyclones, they see a lot of calamities happening, the locust attack and all of that. But they're not able to connect that to, it's because of climate change or it's because of what they do. But once this COVID situation happened, I think brands are waking up to sustainability goals more than ever before. So all of these things, I think, will completely redefine what brands are looking at. I mean, every brand has written their 2025 goals, 2030 goals, sustainability goals, but none of these brands actually achieve 100% of what they commit to, and they've never made that extra mile or that extra mile to sort of achieve those results. But now people are asking questions because they've seen firsthand what disasters can do and what environmental emergencies can do. And so they start asking questions. I think one question has already been mentioned in the YouTube comments as well.
I think that's really the point that we are talking about, and it's a great point. But before I go to all of the questions, again, this time I'll circle back. Dr. Vijay Singhal, how does environmental emergencies and human health implications affect businesses? Are they prepared right now? You're meeting so many people who just come at the last moment for your pollution clearances, right? So
that's really a question we need to address very seriously. Environmental emergencies are not just accidents that we normally encounter, like suppose some gas leakage happens, some boiler get burst. Bigger scale emergencies are the episodic air pollution we are seeing in the developing world, like India and other Asian countries. India, especially in NCR area, Delhi, and other places, every winter you see such a huge amount of particulate matter, PM 2.5 pollution. Such a level of high PM 2.5 is really very dangerous to human health. It can weaken your immune system. It can trigger heart alignments. It can even trigger death. So I mean, we need to take this very seriously. Up till now, there were no studies to really show what are the contributory sources, how much each source contribute to air pollution, especially the particulate matter. We in National Pollution Board got some studies done through IIT Kanpur, that is called source apportionment studies, where you try to assess each source how much it is contributing to the air pollution. You are surprised. We found that almost 25 to 30% of particulate matter, that is fine particulate matter of 2.5 micron size, is contributed by the road dust.
Right.
So it's such a simple act. If you are able to get your roads repaired, keep them clean, you can save, you can reduce 25% of the particulate matter. So, but then you have to conduct proper studies, know the sources. Broadly, we know that vehicles are one of the sources, industries are one of the sources, the burning of the municipal waste is another source. So we have to take very drastic actions, because this is resulting into deaths of thousands of people every year. Life is getting reduced because of such a severe condition of air pollution. We have to be very vigilant. So, along with other emergencies, the pollution-related emergencies, especially the air pollution, is something which I will flag for immediate action.
No, I completely agree with your statements right here. We as a nation, not as just one nation, like every nation in the world, has to think very carefully about environmental disasters. And basically, like each organization's mission has to be driven first by doing that disaster preparedness of how and why their business can fail. If they start from there, they will see that basically taking care of what matters most to the people, like environment issues, problems, and health issues. That's where we have to get started, right? And let me get back to Dr. Bhakti Devi. What's your opinion on that?
What this COVID has made us really realize is, essentialness of every business is under question, because it's also proving to us consumers or the users of the services and products, what are the products we can live without, and what are the services we can live without. And that is quite a eye-opening, and also it is making people think about, do we really need this product? Do we really need this service? So which is actually going to impact businesses in a big way. So I think taking lesson from this, as a business, you really need to, it's an opportunity for you to rethink in a very radical way. Can you actually turn around your business into something that is more essential, like, how can you be a service to the environment? Actually, we always have only thought about environment as a, post, after your business, it's an afterthought.
Right.
But you can't more make it an afterthought, because you will not survive if you make it as an afterthought. You better, if you create a service that is always needed, which is, an essential environmental service, and at least have a component of your service to make sure that you are actually providing an environmental service. And that way, everyone is trying to incorporate it not as an afterthought, but as embedded in a true way, not by compliance, not for compliance reason, but for your own survival. And the other thing to think about is, whatever you all the decisions you have put away based on your whole payback period criteria. Now is a time to reflect. You only considered cost as a criteria, short-term
Right.
gains, but have you considered the cost of not doing them, and how much you are opening yourself to risk by actually not investing on many of these solutions? And that is, I think, the way to think. If you really want to be a pragmatic survival in the future, then it's no longer, environment is no longer an afterthought, cannot be no longer an afterthought. It has to be, think about how can I actually be part of this essential service, and be make sure that my business survives because I'm going to be providing an essential service to the community and to the environment.
Lata, what is your thought about this?
So I agree with almost all the panelists, and Dr. Bhakti Dev is right. Environment till date was looked as some afterthought virtually. But as it has been proved, it's the factor. Even to the point that before setting up, let's say, a plant operations, uh, which the recent Vizag gas disaster proved, you need to start thinking right from the day you set up the factory what kind of environmental disasters are probably going to affect, because the disaster in Vizag which happened was because they were trying to prepare themselves to restart the factory. So in case of really heavy industries like oil refineries, oil drillings, uh, it cannot be shut down, as we all know, for few days, because restarting the factory is another bigger this thing, and it also causes a lot of environmental harm because it releases more pollutants when you try and restart any kind of factory. That's one. So I think right from the day that a project needs to be started, environment has to be written into the business plan at this the design stage. And second, yes, it needs to be now factored in your disaster preparedness, but also your business continuity. Because we've been trying to tell many companies over the years, if you want to be sustainable, then you need to relate environment with the production. So the production is obviously your employees, and if half your employees fall ill, the production stops, and I think COVID has proved that. With virtually no labor, no employees, companies are not able to this. So yes, it's a definite need of the hour. And another thing is we will want to also promote and advise companies on this factor, because it's now clearly, I think nature has given that lesson to everyone. So
No,
there's
that's why, like in terms of all the gloom and doom, I wanted to basically make sure that the next generation of environment professional understands that this is a great opportunity for environment professionals right here, right?
yeah,
To learn from people like you, and really it's now a point where an environment professional has to become almost like another business, and basically present our point of view in a professional manner, right? And
true.
become part of the solution with the general organization, not just be an activist, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Absolutely.
mean, I think I just in the morning only I had just tweeted today. Morning when I think around 7:30, the air quality index of Mumbai was being shown at somewhere on 19. Yesterday was about 16 or 17, which I cannot recall a point where the pollution level was so low in Mumbai. So my point was nature has made a pause, made us pause, and we have stopped all vehicle transmissions. We have stopped factory transmissions we have stopped. Even a lot of the pollution also happens due to construction. So if nature has forced us to pause, it means we can also voluntarily pause later too. It's not that we need nature to tell us to do it. We ourselves can do it. And I think that's something which IT companies are also realizing now, that work from home is not like a token carbon mitigation. It's something which can happen.
Right.
So
Now,
many are that. That's
Dr. Vijay Singhal, with all your experience behind you, do you think that post COVID-19 people will just go back to their bad ways? Is championing sustainability just a losing proposition rather than working for safe areas like finance and IT sector? What is your opinion on that?
I don't think COVID is going to leave its impact and its a footprint for a long time. But I think the impact will be on both sides. On one side, as rightly Lata said, there will be more encouragement to work from home. Courts are working remotely. We are holding the conference remotely. Schools are teaching remotely. So this will reduce air pollution in terms of vehicles will be less on the road, less congestion on the road, less use of resources. So this will of course help the environment. We will have less pollution. But on the contrary, there are other things also, like now there is more push to use individual vehicles. We want to avoid common transport modes like metros and trains. We would like to prefer using our own vehicles. That will lead to some kind of increase. But I think overall it will be good. It will have a large impact, and the impact will be on the positive side as far as environment is concerned. But then overall, the world may get bit not like it was earlier. We used to meet freely, used to talk, used to hug each other. I don't know whether those time will come.
Right.
I'm longing for those actually.
No, you're completely right about that. There are always two sides of the coin. Dr. Bhakti Devi, post-COVID, what's that?
Yeah, I think as Dr. Singhal said, it has certainly, impacted, made us all reflect on many things at a social level, at an environmental level, and also it's showing such clear evidence, which is, thank God for that, because many of us, unless we see things, we cannot do. And these evidences of how the animal world is. People are hearing birds they've never heard for a long time, and these photographs of Everest, the mountains, having a clear vision of the mountains, etc. So all that are helpful, and also the time that we are spending, at home, reflecting on, the human. There is, of course, a loss of, because of the distancing. There's been a bit of a disconnection at a physical level, but at a virtual level, people are engaging more, so which is a good thing. And people are spending time with family, and realizing all the value of that, and realizing what is useful. So all that is, I think, going to certainly, at every personal level, people are going to make decisions that are different to what they would have done before COVID, and that's a good thing. So I think because of that good experiences that it has come with, it has forced us to sit and cherish, or we didn't have to do anything for that. We just had to sit at home, and we got all this experience, and that is something. Therefore, people will always remember, and I'm optimistic that people are, it's going to leave them a bit transformed at some point, at some level, definitely.
No, I completely agree with you on these, and I don't want to extend this our town hall more than an hour. So
yes,
but I want to certainly pose this last question to all of you: that what is your green mission, and what do you want to leave as a legacy in the sands of time? And I will start with Lata this time.
So my green mission, I think, is what I started, and when I entered this business, this venture in, is to evangelize nature and environment among all. Uh, Only when we individually start to, balance our lives in terms of what we consume and what we eat. If we look at balancing it, because right now there is a lot of overdo. So, if everyone adopts the concept of less is more, I think I would have achieved, my goal, and that should, at least to some extent, help the world to kind of mitigate such kind of disasters, because this disaster is going to be, there are more such disasters which are waiting to happen, and there are going to be more which will be coming soon. So I think less is more. If everyone adopts it, I think I would be satisfied.
That's a great thought, Dr. Singhal. What do you want to leave as a legacy in the sense of time?
I think you will have to be back to the nature. Actually, you can't tinker with the nature for long. Actually, you have tinkered a lot, and nature has shown you your value, where you stand. Actually, even a small virus can hold the entire world. Actually, so when you cut the a tree, you deforest, you mingle with the wildlife. These things are going to happen. Many more viruses are going to jump from wild to the humans. So you have to be very careful. Reduce your consumption, whether of natural resources or otherwise. When you consume, when you produce, when you eat, everything results into some kind of damage to the environment. So unless you live on the path of Mahatma Gandhi, don't hold and only live with the minimum means, you can't survive this world. That is a lesson, and this COVID has taught you.
No, a beautiful lesson. And again, together, if we can live that lesson, that would be a great thing to do. Vishnu, what is your green mission? You are not so much down the line that I want to see your footprint in the sense of time, but I just want to know your green mission right now. Can you unmute yourself? Let me try.
All right. Dr. Vijay and Lata already touched upon that, but I'm already a minimalist. I believe in that, and I have only 8 shirts for the entire year, so I keep repeating that. I'm already a minimalist. But in terms of my green mission, there are a couple of things that I want to address. One is zero, which is I want to ensure that none of the waste goes to landfill. So zero waste to landfill is one of my missions. And then infinity. Whatever waste we produce, it should be infinitely circular in some way or the other. And we should be making products from waste and treat waste as a resource. That's my green mission. Like Mr. Armstrong said, my legacy that I want to leave behind is, this is a guy who started a company in the times of COVID and left behind sustainability as the new pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Is a legacy that I want to leave behind.
That's a great thought. And I know through paper, you are creating those products where those products can have seeds, right? And that go right in the ground and germinate as plant, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. We'll certainly talk about your product in one of our another broadcast. That is certainly in my agenda. It's a beautiful thing that you are doing. But
Thank you so much.
Bhakti Devi, you will have the last word on your green mission.
No, thank you. So I love the idea of sustainability as a new pandemic. So I think, given that water is my focus, the legacy that I want to leave behind is, just helping people to become completely confident in creating their own oasis, so to speak. Because if every water user learned to take care of their own water simply because we can, then you don't, and by creating those small circular closed water loops, and of course they need to be shown the way, but once more and more people start doing it, it will become very common, and that will pick up as another pandemic, I think we can call it. So yeah, I think that is because that is what has got us into the crisis, is the fact that we never understood, we never took account, we never took responsibility for our own water, simply because the system was that way. But if we can recreate a new system by just focusing on our own property, that's the legacy I want to leave.
No, this was again a great thought. Legacy based on water, legacy based on land, legacy based on our environment. These are the big legacies that we need to leave behind. And that's what we are doing through Paryavaran.com and Indian Environment Network. We are giving all of you a platform, basically, to just create your legacy there, create your green mission there, and let's work it all together. These are like highly qualified environment professionals in the field. And it's like, once we train them, they can train others, right? They are in every nook and cranny of the world. So that's my thought behind it. Let's join together, let's work together. And I'm sure I'll talk to you all umpteen times, and we'll work together to create more such opportunities to learn in depth about your products and services that you do. And Dr. Vijay Sankar will work with you on featuring many of the organizations that you deal with, basically, and who are doing commendable work. We really need to highlight those organizations who are not doing it for lip service, but who are really committed for it. So let's work together on our platform, Indian Environment Network, and let's do it together. Again, thank you all for coming here. This broadcast will be saved on YouTube immediately after this show. It will be saved on Facebook immediately after this show, so we can all go back, share it with your fans, and everyone who is watching this, we want to hear from you. So come to Paryavaran.com and share your own story of how you are surviving COVID. That will be, I think, the best thing that we can generate for each other, so we can learn from each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Chandra.
you, everyone.
Thank
you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Latha. Thank you, Bhakti. Thank you, Vishnu.
Yes.
Thank you, Kishore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely connecting, and we'll stay in touch. Hope to stay in touch.
We will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's find more ways